Hi guys, Dave Pinson here, Philippine Bible Ministry. I belong to the oldest church on the earth, the most ancient of churches. I know some people say that. There's certain churches that people say, well, this is the original church. Well, technically it started in the 3rd century, in my way of thinking. But what do I mean by this? What is the oldest church and what does this have to do with anything? And why is it important? Well, I don't know how important it is, but I will say this. I was reading this morning. I was reading this morning. I'm in Ephesians, and he says, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, being fitted together, grown into a holy temple in the Lord, to whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. A holy dwelling place of God in the Spirit through a living temple. That's what we are. Built on the foundations of the Old Testament, the prophets, and the apostles, right? So when did this start? When did this church start? Well, most people say the church started at Pentecost, and that's a good way to look at it. Like when Peter preached, "I am the rock upon this rock I will build my church." Well, that was it. It wasn't like Peter went on to become the leader, and no, that didn't really happen in reality. Um, he wasn't even the leader in Rome, so that didn't really happen. So, but that was a lot of people say, well, that's when the church started, day of Pentecost. 3,000 were added, and blah blah blah. Church started that day, right? Other people say, well, wait a minute. What about the upper room? Wasn't that the church? Wasn't those believers, the apostles and the disciples, 120 some people or whatever it was in the upper room? That could be the start of the church, right? It could have been when Jesus was still alive, and then these people are following him, and it weeded down. And then how about the 500 people he appeared to after the resurrection? How many of those people become disciples? Yeah, whenever it started, the body of Christ is the church, and I belong to the body of Christ, right? I don't belong. I'm not a member of an organized religious body, right? But I'm a member of that temple built without hands, that temple of the living believers, right? That's the true church. There is no other true church. Everything else is just a picture. Like, are there believers in those? I believe there are believers in most of those. But it's kind of funny. I was watching a video yesterday of two of my favorite bloggers, and he touched me as they were speaking about the world and putting our country first. And one of them was even like, I don't even care about the other countries because I'm just care about our country. I let every country do that. And these people are Christians. They named the name of them. One of them belongs to that ancient Roman church. The other one belongs to pretty old English church. Supposedly, that's what he keeps telling me, that he belongs to this church. Although I don't see the real. I don't know if that's true. But both of them have the same idea, and the idea is to follow your church. The idea is, and I read this the other day. I don't remember where I read it. Might have been Fenelon, but I read this the other day about it's. It might have been Oswald. It's not something we live by. In other words, following Christ is not a set of rules that we live by. It's not a set of something that we follow to be like. It is, but it's not. Why? Because it's a person that we follow. There's a difference. What's the difference? Well, if I have a set of rules that I live by, everybody else has to comply by these rules, and if they don't, well, that's on them. At least I follow the rules, and it's sort of like it becomes a worldly thing. It becomes something that like somebody said, well, don't be so spiritually minded that you're no earthly good. Well, I don't think many of us are in danger of that in this world. I think it's more like, don't be so worldly minded that you're no use to the spirit. If you don't really care about other nations, in other words, other peoples in this world, then why did Jesus die on a cross? For you and your family, and that's it. I mean, that's what it comes down to, the selfishness of it, right? It comes down to the selfishness of that. And that's what happens when you follow, in my mind, when you follow religious organizations, because it comes down to that. And it comes down to one way of looking at Christianity is this is an example to follow, that we're to follow this set of norms, and this is how and that is not untrue. But at the end of the day, more importantly than all of that is that he is our picture of who we imitate, not just to follow a set of rules, but to live our lives for others, right? So the man said in the video, he said, just so you know, this is how I look at it. I would, 1,000 times out of 1,000, I will save my children, and I will not save the other people. And that's logical. That makes sense. Of course, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. But here's a thought that goes in my mind. I remember hearing this at church one time. I don't remember where I heard this, years and years ago. I heard this talking about trying for us to understand what it means for Christ to give his son for us. And it was telling a story. It's like a parable. The story of the railroad man, the railroad switchman. He's a railroad switchman at this place where they have all the switches and they move trains around. And he tells his son, you stay right here. You don't go out there. It's dangerous. Typical boy doesn't listen to him. So the son goes out there on the tracks and the train's coming. And the son is in the way of the train. Right? But if he switches the tracks, then all the people on the train will die. Hundreds of people on the train. The train goes by him. He looks in their faces. Hundreds of people. So the man makes a decision, a terrible decision, a horrible decision. Is it the right decision? I don't know. But he decides to sacrifice his son for those hundreds of people. Right? Now you would sacrifice yourself, but would you sacrifice your son? So that's a thought right there. Would you sacrifice your son? And I say, I don't know. If he was a follower of Christ, and I don't know how many people on that train are damned, then I might sacrifice my son for all those people. Number one. But number two, the whole idea of what is the church, right? The whole idea of what does it mean to be a member of the body of Christ? It means to follow him. It means not just to live your life by these certain rules, and we don't do this and we do this and we, no. It means to live your life by love for others. So here's one more thing that comes up. It seems like this is sort of disjointed. I don't know if this is making sense. I'll watch it again and see if it does. But the other thing that comes up is I have a friend, and I have other people I know who don't want to be in dark places. I don't want to be in dark places. I don't want to be in California. It's a dark place. There's a lot of sin going on in the whole trans thing, for example, is a horrible, disgusting. God made you, and he made you a male or female, and anything outside of that is a horrible abomination. And if you tell people that, and all these people have mental health issues, and you're feeding into that, and it's all demonic, guys. It's all demonic, right? So there's reasons I don't want to be over there, right? But then the other side of the coin, the thing that hit me this morning was, it doesn't matter where you go, because wherever you go, there's darkness. But God calls us what? To be the light, right? So yeah, I don't care about that other country, and to a point that's true. In other words, you have to take care of yourself first so you can help the other person. Well, that's why they tell you when the plane goes down and then or whatever, the oxygen drops, put the mask on yourself first so you can help your child. Because if you pass out, you won't be any good. So I get that part. But the other part is we still are obligated to help other people. Maybe not necessarily. What does that really mean to help them? And I say it means salvation, right? So that's what I say to that. I say that we have to be light, and light has to go into darkness. So you can't just turn your back and say, well, we have our light. We're good over here, Like the people in the William Booth dream, the people up on the platform on the rock that are saved, and they have their salvation. They just turn their back on all these people that are in the sea of death and despondency in the world and going to hell, and they turn their back on them and they go, well, we have ours, and oh, please don't let me fall off of here. Please keep me, hold me. How many worship songs are about hold me and keep me close, Lord? Don't let me fall back. Don't how many songs are all that? It's all self-centered, right? How many songs that you hear today, modern worship songs, are about that, are about God's will for a heart for the lost, right? So yeah, I belong to the oldest church because I belong to the body of Christ. That's the reason Jesus died, so to bring people back to Him, back to the Father. And the heart is for everyone out there. So if your heart's not for other people, in other words, if you're about your own comfort and all that, then you probably belong to the wrong church. Let's just drop the mic on that. You're probably in the wrong church if it's okay to be self-centered about your nation, even about your family, because what did Jesus say? Who is my mother and father? Those who follow the Lord, right? So yeah, follow Jesus and love others. That's the church. God bless you guys. Touch off for now.